Assembly language. Assembly is the closest thing to talking directly to a computer's brain. Every other language you've ever heard of eventually gets translated down to something like this. It works by letting you write instructions that map almost one-to-one with the actual commands a processor understands. Things like, move this value, add these two numbers, jump to this line. Before higher-level languages existed, this was how engineers built operating systems and hardware drivers. It's still used today in places where speed is critical, like writing firmware for microchips or optimizing game engines at the lowest level. Here's the thing, it gives you total control over memory and processing. The downside is that it's brutally hard to read and write, and code written for one processor type won't work on a different one without being rewritten from scratch. C is the language that essentially built the modern software world. It was created in the early 1970s and gave programmers a way to write fast, efficient code without having to think in pure machine instructions. It works by compiling, meaning your code gets converted into machine instructions before it ever runs, which makes programs written in C extremely fast. The operating system on your phone, the kernel of Linux, most of the internet's infrastructure, all built with C or something that grew out of it. You manage memory yourself in C, which means you decide when to allocate it and when to free it. That level of control is powerful, but it's also where most bugs come from. One mistake with memory management and your program crashes or becomes vulnerable to attacks. C++. C++ is C with an extra layer added on top. That layer is called object-oriented programming, which means you can organize your code around objects that bundle data and behavior together. Think of an object like a car in a game. It has properties like speed and color, and it has behaviors like accelerate and brake. C++ keeps all the speed advantages of C, but gives you better tools for organizing large, complex programs. It's the language behind most video games, graphics engines like Unreal Engine, and a lot of high-performance software. Unlike C, it gives you more structure to work with, which makes it slightly easier to manage huge code bases. The limitation is that it's one of the most complex languages to learn. It has a massive number of features, and using them incorrectly can create problems that are hard to track down. Java. Java was built around one idea: write your code once, run it anywhere. Before Java, if you wrote a program on Windows, it might not work on Mac or Linux without major changes. Java solves this by running on something called the Java Virtual Machine, a layer that sits between your code and the actual hardware, translating your program in real time for whatever system it's running on. That's why Android apps, enterprise banking software, and large back-end systems have relied on Java for decades. It forces you to use object-oriented programming, which makes large team projects easier to maintain. The trade-off is that this translation layer adds overhead, so Java programs tend to use more memory and can feel slower compared to C or C++ in raw performance tasks. Python. Python is designed to be readable first. The syntax, meaning the way you write the code, looks almost like plain English compared to other languages. Instead of spending time figuring out how to tell the computer what to do, you spend most of your time thinking about what to do. It's interpreted, meaning it runs line by line without a separate compilation step, which makes testing and debugging fast. Python became the default language for data science, machine learning, and automation because of this simplicity and the huge number of ready-made libraries, packages of pre-written code, available for it. If you've used tools like ChatGPT, the research and training behind them was largely done in Python. The limitation is speed, because it's interpreted and has certain design choices baked in. Python is significantly slower than compiled languages like C or Java, which makes it less ideal for performance-heavy applications. JavaScript. JavaScript is the only language that runs natively inside a web browser. That makes it unique. No other language can directly control what you see and interact with on a web page without extra steps. It started as a way to make websites interactive, like validating a form before you submit it. Over time, it expanded massively. Today it runs on servers too, powers mobile apps, and is one of the most used languages in the world. Unlike Python or Java, JavaScript was built quickly and has some quirks in its design that can produce unexpected behavior if you're not careful. Here's a classic example. In JavaScript, adding the number 0 to an empty string gives you the string 0, not an error. That kind of weirdness is built into the language. The limitation is that those design quirks are permanent. They can't be removed without breaking billions of websites, so JavaScript carries its historical baggage everywhere it goes. Honestly, which of these languages have you actually written code in? Drop it in the comments. genuinely curious where most people here are starting from. SQL. SQL is not a general-purpose programming language. It's a language built specifically for one job: talking to databases. A database is just an organized collection of data, like a massive spreadsheet, and SQL lets you ask questions about that data or change it. You write queries, requests, like, give me all users who signed up in the last 30 days, and the database returns exactly that. Every app you've ever used that stores your data, Instagram, Spotify, banking apps, has SQL or something very similar running underneath it. Unlike most languages where you describe how to do something step by step, in SQL you describe what you want, and the database figures out how to get it. The limitation is that SQL is built for structured data, rows and columns, and it struggles when data doesn't fit neatly into that format, like storing social network connections or unstructured documents. Swift. Swift is Apple's language, built to replace an older language called Objective-C that was used to write iOS and Mac apps. Apple released it in 2014 with a focus on safety, meaning the language itself is designed to catch common errors before your program ever runs. For example, it forces you to handle cases where a value might be missing, rather than letting your app crash silently. If you want to build an app for iPhone, iPad, or Mac, Swift is the most direct path to doing that today. It's faster than Objective-C and more readable, which makes it genuinely easier to pick up for someone new to Apple development. The limitation is that it's tightly tied to Apple's ecosystem. Swift is not useful outside of Apple platforms in any practical sense, which means the skills don't transfer as broadly as something like Python or JavaScript. Kotlin. Kotlin is to Android what Swift is to iPhone. Google adopted it as the preferred language for Android development in 2017, largely because the language it replaced, Java, had accumulated a lot of friction over the years. Kotlin is designed to be concise, meaning you can express the same idea in fewer lines of code than Java would require. It also has built-in features that reduce a very common type of crash in Android apps caused by trying to use a value that doesn't exist, called a null reference error. Kotlin runs on the same Java virtual machine as Java, which means you can use both in the same project, making it easier for existing teams to transition gradually. The limitation is that Kotlin is relatively young, and while its ecosystem is growing fast, it doesn't yet have the same depth of libraries and community resources that Java has had decades to build up. Rust. Rust was built to solve a problem that C and C++ have had for 50 years, memory safety without sacrificing speed. In C or C++, managing memory manually leads to entire categories of serious bugs. Programs that crash, or worse, get exploited by attackers. Rust takes a different approach. It enforces memory safety rules at compile time, meaning it checks your code for those errors before the program even runs, rather than letting the crash happen later. Think of it as the compiler acting like a strict editor that refuses to let you publish a mistake. Major tech companies have started using it for systems where both performance and security matter. Mozilla used it to build parts of the Firefox browser, and Microsoft has been integrating it into Windows. The limitation is the learning curve. Rust's memory system, called the borrow checker, enforces rules that feel unfamiliar at first and can take weeks before they start to click. Most developers today use 2 or even 3 programming languages every single day, but very few actually understand why each one behaves differently under pressure. Behind all of this, there's a processor making millions of decisions every second, something most people never stop to think about. And honestly, that's where everything starts to make sense. That video is already on your screen right now. If you haven't watched it yet, you're missing the piece that connects everything.